What if just some random night you were gifted with powers? The powers to manipulate gravity. What would you do with them? Would you become a hero or a villain? Today we're going to be covering Radiant Black. This is Comicstorian. I take some comic books, I turn them into audio dramas, act out the characters, and give you something to listen to on your ride to work or going into a boring job. The purpose of this channel is so that you can get caught up in your favorite comic books or discover brand new ones. Go to your local comic book store to support the industry or to your digital retailer. Today we're going to be bringing you Radiant Black, a storyline written by Kyle Higgins, the guy that wrote Shattered Grid in the Power Rangers storyline. So you know that this is going to be good. Let's get into it. Nathan stares at his phone in dismay, looking at the wild difference between how much money he has versus how much he owes. And he sits in his car listening to the bank representative explain to him why they can't grant him his loan due to his debt. I know, that's why I need the loan, he tries to explain, but they tell him that they can't help him, and they hang up. He pauses for a moment before breaking down. The car door opens. Sorry to keep you waiting, we can call another ride, the man says as he gets in. But Nathan shakes his head and starts driving them wherever they need to go. No, it's fine. Everything's fine, he says. 1 week goes by with Nathan unloading his boxes from the car, moving them back into his parents' house in Lockport, Illinois. His mom is excited to have him home, and his father just happy that he's finally admitted that he can't make it as a writer. Henry, no, his mother says, looking at her husband sharply. She puts a hand on Nathan's shoulder. You're a writer. You have been your whole life. That's not going to change, she tells him, and she pulls him into a hug, but they're both interrupted by a voice calling out to them. The Great White Hope returns, fresh off conquering all of the white whales, Marshall shouts as he runs up, mixing up his metaphor. He greets Nathan's parents, informing them that he is taking their son out for the night. Tonight, you and me, just like old times. I want to hear all about the cool stuff Mr. Big Time Writer has going on, he says with a smile to his friend. That night at the bar, Marshall is shocked by how much debt Nathan has. And Nathan nods his head, looking down into his beer, explaining that his novel is based off of one of his short stories, and that his agent is waiting for it and can get him a big deal. In the meantime, though, things have gotten pretty tight, Nathan admits. Marshall asks him if his parents are going to help, but he explains that they don't know about his money issues. Marshall explains to his friend that they just need to listen to his ideas, and they can both toast to another beer. So later, as the two of them are stumbling out of the bar, very drunk, Marshall reaches to unlock his car door, but Nathan stops him, staring up as the strange object floats before them. What the hell is that? Marshall gasps, and they cross the parking lot, finding the strange light floating over the train tracks. No idea, Nathan admits, but Marshall nods. Well, the fact that we both see it, that's a good idea, he slurs, and Marshall stares at it, looking at it from various angles. This is so weird. It's like a mini black hole or something, he says, but Nathan shakes his head, reaching out for it. That's impossible. It's got to be a trick of the light, he whispers, and his fingers brush it with energy crackling around them. The light overtakes him and he begins to change. Marshall stumbles back as Nathan now stands before him in a new costume, energy pulsing off of him. And Nathan begins to freak out, holding his phone so that he can see himself. I think I gotta throw up, he hisses and breathes quickly, leaning over and vomiting, the liquid coming out of his helmet as if it wasn't there. Oh my God, you don't have a mouth! How are you even doing that without a mouth? Marshall shouts, but they're interrupted as two cops begin to walk towards them, ordering them to get off the tracks. Marshall begins to get snappy with them, telling them to buzz off, but Nathan looks up, seeing a train approaching them all from the distance. He tries to get everyone's attention, but Marshall and the cops are now arguing, and the train is getting closer. Everyone finally looks up as the train whistles at them, but a light suddenly surrounds the cops and the train, lifting everything into the air. Nathan and Marshall stare in shock as everything continues to float, with the cops shouting to let them down. Marshall turns to Nathan. Can you fly? I really hope this means you can fly, he says, and in moments they're flying through the air with Marshall smiling as he stares at everything below them. As they get away, the cops in the train slowly begin to lower back to the ground. This is officially the craziest thing I've ever seen, Marshall says as the pair finally land on the grain silo. But Nathan isn't listening, trying desperately to get the helmet off of his head. All right, let's calm down and solve this problem, Marshall tells him as Nathan becomes more desperate. I'm trying to stay calm, but the thing won't come off, Nathan shouts, and Marshall reaches out as the energy begins to crack off of Nathan, reminding him to calm down or he might explode or something. Breathe, he shouts, and Nathan finally begins to calm down. Marshall suggests that he merely think about lifting the helmet off, like he did with the train. Nathan pauses for a moment, and the helmet shifts and disappears. The two of them talk for a few moments, with Marshall already beginning to scheme about the ways that they can use Nathan's newfound powers. But Nathan feels down, reminding him that he seems to screw everything up. "Hey, you're not going to screw this up. I won't let you," Marshall explains, putting his hand on his friend's shoulder. And who knows, maybe this will help with the writing thing too. Meanwhile, over in Chicago, a bank wall explodes, and from the destruction steps the robber, clad in the same suit as Nathan, but in red. Energy crackles as they step forward, carrying 2 bags of money. The next morning, Nathan returns home to find his father waiting for him. "Ah, good, you're still alive. Your mother and I were taking bets," he says, and his father offers him some oatmeal, explaining that he's up for a morning walk with his group. They sit down at the table, with his father asking if Marshall has given him any leads on jobs. Nathan isn't happy about the question, and the two begin to eat their oatmeal, but his father finally looks up. "When you called and said you had to come back, are you all right, Nathan?" His father asks, and Nathan nods, telling him that something amazing has happened. "Any idea what it pays?" his father asks, but Nathan explains that it doesn't pay. "No source of income," his father sighs, and Nathan begins to get angry with his dad, but the man suggests that he continue to drive for that company. "It's money, isn't it?" his father asks. But Nathan gets sick of his father's advice and storms out of the kitchen. At his job, Marshall is trying to help a customer pick out a movie when the cops from last night walk in. He's stunned that they were able to find him, but over with Nathan, he's sleeping, the strange images appearing in the darkness of his mind. When he wakes up, he's now floating above his bed, with a strange ball of light floating next to him. He reaches out to touch it, and it disappears, with a knock at his door bringing him to the front. It's there that he discovers Marshall with the cops. "Hey, Nathan," they say. The young men are surprised that the cops found them. "You spent the night at the bar literally around the corner from where we found you," they explain. His mother comes walking in, asking what's going on, but the cops smile. "Your son didn't tell you. Last night outside of Embers, Nathan helped resolve a tense situation. Some drunk jerk who wouldn't get off the train tracks," they explain, and Nathan's mother heads inside, happy that her son was helping. And with that, the cops finally explain why they're there. "Are you working with the other one?" they ask, but Nathan doesn't understand, and they show him footage from Chicago of a red individual who's been robbing banks. He stares at the phone in shock. "This is the first time I'm hearing about any of this. I thought I was the only one." And the cops nod, accepting his answer, suggesting that if he works with them, he could really help the community. "And get you guys a promotion," Marshall whispers, but Nathan manages to stop the argument by stepping forward. "Last night, that was literally the first time I've ever done something like that. I don't even know how I did it. I'm still figuring things out," he tells the cops, who nod and head off, telling Nathan to think about their suggestion. Afterwards, Nathan and Marshall sit and watch the footage on their phones, with Nathan admitting that he still doesn't know about his powers and thinks that the red guy might know, except that Chicago is a big city. "How the hell are we gonna find him?" Marshall asks, and Nathan looks at him smiling. "I think I have a crazy idea." So a day passes in Chicago with Nathan driving for driver, asking questions and trying to get the location of the red guy. Towards the end of the day, he hears something about a junkyard where the guy's been spotted. So as the nights begin to fall, he heads towards the junkyard. "All right, here we go," he whispers, energy crackling around him as he begins to transform, appearing in costume. He heads into the junkyard where he finds the red guy holding energy over his head. Energy glowing around them both. "All right, I have no idea what you're doing, but man, it sure does look cool," Nathan says as he walks up and the red guy whirls around. "I'm guessing you found your black hole too," which I have more questions about. But before we get to that, is robbing banks the smartest thing to be doing with our newfound powers? I mean, I found you. How long before the cops do? Red moves fast, punching him hard in the face, sending him flying through the air, when with that he slams into the ground in a nearby construction site. "You're going to show up here and threaten me with the police?" Red asks as they fly in, Nathan throwing up his hands, trying to tell them that he's just figuring things out. But he sends an energy wave out that throws them through a wall, and a car comes flying at him. It slams him hard into the ground, and Red is there again, hitting him again and again until his helmet cracks. Red then turns, walking away from the fight, and Nathan quickly comes to, rushing after them to discover that Red took his car. As Red drives away, they look in the side mirror and are shocked to see Nathan flying alongside. "Oh, hey, me again. So sorry, I think we got off to the wrong foot here. I could definitely stay out of your hair, but I'm gonna need my car back," he shouts to Red. But Red sideswipes him, aiming for the guardrail, and then dives out of the car as it goes over the edge. "No!" Nathan shouts, throwing his hands up, stopping the car with his energy, making it float. He turns his red fleas, using his powers to pull back on the bags of money. Hey, that previous offer of staying out of your hair? Definitely rescinded on account of you drove my car off the bridge. He shouts in energy, and Red tries to pull back on the bags, but the energy whips out, knocking Red away. Nathan turns back to his car, starting to pull it back up and put it back on the road with his powers. Afterwards, breathing heavily as he checks the bags and finds that they are full of money. He looks at it in surprise, holding up the stacks of bills, but he finally sighs. It's a short time later that the detectives in charge of the robbery scene look up to see the bags floating down to them with a note taped to the side. I think you lost this. The next day, Nathan is in the kitchen when his dad comes down. He's excited because it's his writing day, and his father smiles, hoping that it will be a promising day. But most of the morning passes and Nathan has nothing. He heads up to his room trying to concentrate, but he just starts to look at videos online. More time passes and he just stares at the blinking line on his document, blinking in front of a blank page, and still nothing. Strange images begin to appear in his mind as he tries to concentrate. Strange symbols that seem to condense into English. Radiant. Finally, he gives up on the writing and heads to Marshall's video store, where his friend has been working on names for his superhero persona. I'm trying to come up with a great superhero name for you. None of them really have that pop factor yet, though, but we'll get there, he says, showing him the doodles. Sorry, how am I a superhero? Nathan asks, but Marshall merely points out the suit and the powers. You even turned down free and clear bank robbery money, he notes, and Nathan finally gives in. What about something with radiant? Nathan finally suggests, and Marshall ponders on it for a moment, checking his phone and finally looking up at Nathan. Ready? Radiant black, he says with a smile. Nathan ponders it for a moment. It's no Batman, he notes, and Marshall continues to push for the name, with Nathan finally agreeing to think about it. I already registered the social, Marshall says as he holds up his phone, and Nathan starts to get mad, but Marshall reminds him that they need to take control of his narrative before someone else does. Nathan finally puts down the phone and heads for the exit. I'm done with this. I got pages to write. Sending you the login now! Marshall calls after him, and Nathan tries to head to the bar to write, but still nothing comes. It's on his second beer that he finally looks up, an idea popping into his mind that his character doesn't recognize her own life anymore. Later, he's sitting on his bed, typing away the laptop, unaware that he is writing in the strange new language that has been appearing in his dreams. But a strange noise makes him look up, just as the roof explodes inward, throwing him to the ground. He looks up to see radiant black above him, but now with a sweet cape. The costumed man grabs him by the shirt, flying him into the air, speaking to him in the strange language. Nathan has no idea what's going on. Who are you? He asks, and the helmet disappears to reveal Nathan's face, but with a beard. I am the you that you will never be, Nathan. Worth breathing, he says with an evil smile before dropping Nathan out of the sky. He screams as he's plummeting to the earth, and then he snaps awake in his bed, his laptop falling out of his lap. He looks up at the empty page with nothing to show for an entire day. He looks at his phone, realizing that someone has tagged him, complaining about how they have a flat tire and could use a superhero's help. So, the snow falls heavily from the sky as Nathan locates the family, landing next to their car and offering to help. Don't you have anything better to do? The young son asks, and Nathan looks at him sheepishly. Would you believe me if I said no? He asks. However, it becomes quickly apparent that Nathan has no idea how to change a tire. Finally looks up at him. Fine, where were you all headed? He asks. So they climb back into the car as Nathan explains that just because he's a superhero doesn't mean he knows how to change a tire. And then he lifts the car, flying them to their destination. At the end of the day, Nathan falls into his bed with a sigh. So much for writing, he whispers in his room, closing his eyes. But that's when an idea finally reaches him and he sits back up, typing away at the laptop until early morning, where his father finds him. Glad it was a productive day, his father calls as he heads into the kitchen, and Nathan smiles. Me too. This time. Nathan is dreaming again, strange images and lights floating around him that he can hear in a strange language, but he can't understand it. And it begins to shift, the symbols forming words. Hello, Nathan. Welcome to existence. The voice calls, and Nathan looks up as a strange alien robot leans over him. Marshall is sitting in his apartment when his phone buzzes. He checks the text. Need to practice with these powers. Any interest? Is the text that Nathan sent. In a short amount of time, the two are standing in the snow-covered woods, with Marshall's action figures lined up on a stump. He points at them, noting that since they've seen Nathan create energy waves, it is possible that he can do something if he focuses. Nathan isn't too sure, but gives it a shot, holding out his hand and sending a blast of energy that rips the action figures to shreds. Hey, that's not awful, Marshall says with joy. He sets up another line, questioning what made Nathan want to practice. I don't know, just thinking about everything, like, these powers had to come from somewhere, right? What happens when that somewhere comes looking for them? Maybe the red one is a part of it all, Nathan explains, and he pauses for a moment before telling Marshall about his dreams. With the strange images in his head and how he's starting to understand a language and symbols that he's never known before. Marshall nods, telling Nathan that he should try a bigger blast. I think you need to get angry, telling Nathan that he has to picture something that pisses him off. Nathan isn't so sure, but Marshall reminds him that his ex would still be around if he knew how to satisfy her. Nathan snaps, sending out a massive blast that destroys the action figures and the stump. Whoa, that was dope! With practice done, the two friends head off to enjoy some beer and movies. That night, the dreams come again with Nathan standing before the alien robot and the creature explaining that they have entered a partnership, that their connection is permanent, and that war draws near, something that could kill their entire planet. To die is to lose everything. Will you do all that is required to save your species? Will you take his life? The two friends walk down the street with their movie snacks, with Nathan asking Marshall what he would do if he had gotten superpowers. Marshall smiles, explaining that he has 100 ideas of what he would do. At least 80 of them involve me getting crazy rich, he says, and Marshall looks at his friend, reminding him that he is never an idea guy. Could you be doing more? Should you be doing more? He asks, but the conversation is interrupted when something falls out of the sky, cracking the pavement, sending them to the ground. Hello, Nathan, Red says as they step out of the destruction. What a nice hometown you have, Red says as Red is grabbing him by the shirt, throwing him through the air. Nathan transforms mid-toss, becoming radiant black and flipping to a landing. Red looks up to see Marshall is filming them. Oh, dude, you're in for it now. Also, don't worry, I'm shooting video. You can watch your ass get beat down at 120 frames per second, Marshall calls out, but Red reaches out, taking the phone, cracking it. Now run, or else I'll absorb your skin and let your muscles and fat spill out, Red says, but Black grabs Red with energy, tossing them into a nearby building. He turns to Marshall as he flies after them. Get inside and stay off the streets, he shouts to Marshall. He lands on the building, but Red is there, grabbing him and throwing him through the 3 stories below, and they land in the bar below. I know who you are, Nathan. I know where you live. Believe me when I tell you, I can get to you anytime. I can get to them. I will hurt you, Red warns. But anger fills Nathan, and he hits Red with a powerful blast, knocking them to their feet. Red looks up at him in shock. Her helmet cracked, revealing her worried eyes. But Nathan sees the fear in her eyes and turns away. Don't you ever come back here. Ever again. Red gets up, shooting a blast of energy at him as he walks away, and he whirls, shooting her with his own. His blast knocking her away, with the building beginning to rumble around them. He holds out his hands, trying to stabilize the building. Hold something, now! He shouts at Red, and he shouts for everyone to get out of the building as it begins to crumble. There's about to be nothing to hold up, Red shouts, and Nathan turns, hitting her and the others with a push of energy that sends them out of the building, with everything coming down on top of him as he does. Marshall rushes forward, screaming for his friend as he digs through the rubble, pulling him out, cradling his body. The alien asks if Nathan will do everything that he needs to. Will you take his life? It asks. Nathan turns away for a moment and stares at the alien solemnly. Then your world and you will die, it warns. Marshall is screaming for help. He turns back to Nathan and watches as the small ball of light comes out of his chest and floats before him. Marshall now finds himself in front of that alien. Your friend is gone. Our connection is final. For the duration of your life, you are part of existence. But war is near for the Radiant. He will kill you and your entire planet. To die is to lose everything. Will you do all that is required? Will you take his life? The alien asks as it leans forward. Marshall nods. Yes, he says with determination, reaching out for the ball of light. And there you go, the first major cliffhanger in our Radiant Black coverage. Welcome to existence. If you guys liked this, I need you to let me know. I need you to give me a comment down below to help get this video up there, and I need you to tell me what you enjoyed about it, or if you just liked it in general. Your comments, likes, and subscriptions will keep this series going on the channel, and it'll help the channel stay alive. Without your support, we don't exist. So if you want more of this, please consider giving us a comment, like, and subscription. On that note, I hope you did enjoy this, and I'm going to continue covering Turtles, Power Rangers, and we'll be doing more Radiant Black if you guys ended up liking this. On that note, I'll see you later.